And hello, Sunday morning, and still scratching. Right, how should I start this? I've had one. I drink cocoa now, all the time. Drink cocoa all through the day. Don't know why. Um, Gone off tea and coffee, just cocoa all the time. Right, I had a thought this morning because I had my radio on for a while having breakfast, and they were going on about the Olympics. And I thought to myself, I don't think any. First, I thought nobody over the age of 25 should be able to play sport. And then I thought, well, that's, it's not bad exercise and it's quite fun of a weekend. And then I thought, no professional sport should be done by over 25-year-olds. And then I remembered how difficult it was in the old days keeping sport amateur because backroom payments were going on and that sort of stuff. So then I thought, well, it should be banned. You should not be able to watch anybody over 25 play sport or something like that. But the whole thing is just all these people do all this sport stuff and spend all this money and have all this knowledge of, these people that can run and jump and hit things, and they know all the statistics of this, that, and the other, but they don't know how to scratch it. I mean, it's not significant that, 99.9999% of the people know all these stats about sport and know bugger all about banking. But it is a bit weird, isn't it? I mean, but in a way it's understandable because it's obviously not easy, this stuff, or we would have cracked it by now. I mean, Salman Khan, I watched his videos. How long would that be? About 3-4 years ago on YouTube. Brilliant, Salman Khan, on banking, on exactly this. But for some reason, it just doesn't seem to register. If Salman says it, Sal says it, then it's right. But I even watched his videos on cardiac operations. He's got the lot going there. Anyway, where was I going? Yeah, so nobody under 25, over 25 should be able to do professional sport. And then I thought, this is just while I was preparing my breakfast, I think. Where was it? Anyway, yeah, and then I thought golf, because the British Open's on at the moment, and thought that wouldn't be quite right for the golfers. And I thought, oh, well, that's all right. Nobody should be able to play professional golf under the age of 65. There's too much of this stupid sport going on about this sport too much, isn't there, really, don't you think? I mean, it's all right, sport, as a bit of a distraction, but it's too big, it's too huge. Anyway, what else should I tell you? I've ordered a powered hub for USB hub, so my microphone should work better. I've ordered the complete collection of Columbo, every single Columbo episode ever made, in French, with subtitles and all that sort of stuff. That's to help me learn French. And okay, let's do this scratch stuff. Thanks everybody for playing. I think I can explain yesterday's scratch, but in today's scratch in an easier way to understand. Linda came in and refined things well before going well off the track later. Ricardo came in and in a way gave us the correct bit of information, that we're talking balance sheets, which are snapshots. You can have a quarterly balance sheet, but you could even think of a balance sheet as a yearly balance sheet, not a cash flow statement. So we're talking basically balance sheet, could be the end of the year balance sheet, and we're talking things that are happening one day and the next day. So that's got to be not taken into account, because these transactions have to be registered on the balance sheet sometime, and that's what we're doing. We're just kind of playing with time. But it was the time thing that Linda brought up. And for Joe, hello Joe. Yeah, we will. I think it's still important, although it's taken 2 years or whatever, to get the complete understanding, not complete understanding, but enough of a basic understanding of how the banking system works now, before, certainly speaking for myself, before I can go and start imagining how a new and different and more just and honest banking system could work. I can't imagine doing that without enough of a grip on how the banking system works now, and this is what this is about. And I know you appreciate that, and you're well ahead of the game, and we're trying to catch up, but we're obviously stupid because we're stuck on this well, 4 lots of 5, and it's difficult. Anyway, I don't think it is difficult now. I think it was all basically right yesterday. It just could have been explained better, and the bit that could be explained better, I've added one box here, so it should come out slightly better. So we've got the 5 fives out. Presentation again. Yeah, presentation again. We've got the 5 fives out, which is, and as Joe says, the 5 that you have gone in and deposited in the bank is already debt, and we'll get to that in the end. That already debt 5, though, has gone in to the bank. And think of it this way. This might be a slightly different way of thinking about it, but it's the same thing. You give the 5 to the bank, and the bank says, thank you very much, thank you very much. It has 5 now. That you've just given 5 to the bank. So the bank goes, woohoo, and the accountants who don't go woohoo says, right, we've got to write this down. Got 5, we've got 5 now. Cash, asset to us. Thank you very much, thank you very much. 5 to us. But accountants, being boring again, know that you are going to come in one day and knows that begrudgingly they've got to put 5 on the liability side as well, because you might come in and take it, and it needs registering that, that there is 5 there available for you to come in and take. So we get our 5-5. Right. This next 5-5 was me going in and getting a loan. Now, I'm saying here now, and I can't be totally sure of anything at all to do with this, but for explanatory purposes, because there is no, I don't think there is, as I tried to explain yesterday, there is no, this is how it happens, because for different departments in the bank and different ways of looking at it, it will look different from a different situation. But the way we can imagine it, all loans work as fresh air money. They are fountain pen loans. So the accountant, fountain pen man, gives me the fountain pen, and I sign the IOU, and that's the bottom left 5 that goes on their asset side. And I'll come back to Linda in the end. And begrudgingly it says, all right, go on, we'll scratch up your checking account by 5, and that's the bottom right 5. Okay. In brackets, when I start paying this back, if I say to them, let's pay back one of these, that bottom right 5 will go down to a 4, and their asset will go down to a 4. Okay, close bracket. Right. Forget that if you weren't worried about that. Right. The next one that I've got, this is an extra intermediate stage, which does explain things better and goes with Ricardo's cash flow statement and things, cash flow and that sort of stuff. Okay. The 5 now that I took the loan out for, I take away. I write a check for it and buy, strange, but I'm going to buy a bicycle next door to the bank. Yeah. So I buy my bicycle in the bicycle shop next door to the bank, and the bicycle shop wants paying that 5, and it's paid via the check. So we'll leave that. So the bicycle shop man presents it to his bank. His bank then presents it to the central bank. The central bank does the working out and basically demands 5 from the bank that I borrowed the money from. The bank that I borrowed the money from goes, okay, he's now spent that, and crosses me off, right? Crosses me off because I've spent that money on the bike, and that's that one. And going back to this one, but the bank that represents the bicycle shop wants their 5, and that has to come from somewhere. Now, it would probably, in real life, come from the reserves held at the central bank, and they'd just take it and give it to the bank that represents the bicycle shop man. And obviously, as soon as that money is taken by the central bank to give to the other bank, that becomes that top left cross off of a 5. Now, think of the reserves at the central bank. They're usually like a hopper or a bird feeder. It's filled up. At the moment, they've got huge excess reserves in the hopper up top, and the central bank, when something like this happens, just takes one away. And that information obviously comes back to the bank, and accountant man has to cross it off reserves. And that's basically it. But if you look at this transaction, like it is now with the 2 5s crossed out, we've got a contradictory sort of thing. Steve Keen's right that banks never make loans from reserves. They always do fountain pen loans, so it's not from reserves. But ultimately, as you can see from the picture, it's exactly the same. When it comes down to it, in the end, that loan, the 5 that I've taken out, has come from reserves. So you've got just a contradictory description of the same thing. You can say Steve Keen's right to say loans are never made from reserves, but if somebody was to say loans are always made from reserves, I would have to say yes, that's right as well. And obviously, to get into the hopper of reserves stroke excess reserves, the hoppers, the excess reserves over the feeding outlet in the central bank, deposits are thrown in there as well. So you don't know, it's fungible. You don't know what's gone into making up those excess reserves and reserves, but they're probably deposits. So you can actually say that loans are made from deposits. Or you might notice, because the accountant just shoves a bit of paper at you and says, we've just sold a load of treasury bills on our asset side and turned them to cash and thrown those in the hopper. You could say that loans always come from sold treasury bills. It depends what they throw in the hopper at the central bank that filters out eventually to pay the other bank for the check that's been written. Okay, so it's one of those things where everybody's right or everybody's wrong, as long as what I've described is the way it happens. And it just, I can't see anything wrong with it at the moment, and I'll leave it for Sunday scratch, and we'll see what happens if somebody can see some loopholes. Oh, I saw, yeah, it was while I was away, somebody did what was his name, that oh, and one was drinking whiskey. What was him? Can't remember his name. Excellent story about him at the end of his life, because you know he was a philandering, drunken. He led quite a life. Name doesn't come. Anyway, somebody caught him reading the Bible at the you know, when he was really sick towards the end of his life, and said, "What's his Christian? Can't remember his name. What are you doing?" He said, "I'm looking for loopholes." Yeah, okay. That's it. I'm off. Bye. And hopefully this is established now, and we'll be able to go on to bigger and better and greater things, and maybe even go and have a look at Joe's. We'll have a look at people that say that full reserve banking's a good idea, because then we'll know from this description how that would work. Because I think if this is the basis, describing full reserve banking would be a thing. And any idea Joe's got of, well, his is slightly different, because I think he wants the money to come from the government. But as long as we've got this grokked, I think we can go on to other things. But that isn't to say don't criticise. I still want this ripped apart if it's wrong. But I was confident before. But I'm fairly confident now that this is at least not far off. Have a happy Sunday watching your sport. Bye.